today's webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive an email tomorrow about 24 hours after we wrap today that'll include a link to today's webinar, as well as being able to find it on the website and in the Help Center later. If you happen to misplace that email, you can review it if you need to review additional topics, or you can share it with a colleague. We'd happy to have you share that as you like. All right. So you see on your screen 2019 classroom trainings. We love having you in our webinars, but we equally love having you in the classroom. Depending on where you're located and your schedule, if you've not joined us for a classroom training, they're a lot of fun and a great way to get some face-to-face time. We've got 3 more Jackrabbit Basics classes. Those are our 2-day start from scratch trainings that kind of cover everything in our training guide. Next ones are August, September, October. They're usually in our Huntersville, North Carolina office right outside of Charlotte, and we've got one this year. We're branching out a little bit in Dallas, Texas in September. Our Beyond the Basics classes, we usually have at least 1 or 2 of those a month throughout most of the year. Our next one is Toronto next week. We've still got 2 more Canadian dates, Toronto and Calgary, and then a number of them throughout the year in the US. And then our Boost User Conference. East has already happened. West is coming up in fabulous Las Vegas. We've got a brand new event for you this year and a brand new venue. We're moving Boost back to the Strip. We're going to be at the Link Hotel and Casino right on the Strip by the Link Promenade. If you have been to Vegas, it's where the High Roller and the new zip lines are, if you haven't seen those yet. So we'd love to see you there. Boost registration will be opening later this month, so we'd love to check you out there. And come see us in a classroom. It's a great way to connect with Jackrabbit staff face-to-face. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Ed until the question and answer time. He's going to talk about where to find us on social media, and then he's going to take it away.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm really excited to have you guys here with us today. All right, so there's always something going on with Jackrabbit. So to keep up to date with it all, be sure to join our Facebook users group if you haven't already. We actually have 2 different users groups. One is for our Care Edition and the other is for all other database editions. You can follow us on Instagram. You can join us on YouTube and see all the instructional videos we have available. You can also subscribe and hit the little bell so you get alerted when a new training video has been posted. And then, of course, there is our intercom. It's the little blue icon you see at the bottom right corner of your database when you're on your executive dashboard. All right, so before we get things started, I want to take a quick look at our agenda just to kind of go over what we'll be covering today. We're going to start off with defining the differences between the web registration form and the parent portal. We'll look at a few help student resources and just kind of point you in a direction of where you can find help when you need it. We'll look at the settings that allow classes to be enrolled, either through the parent portal or the web registration form. We'll look at the online web registration form. So we'll look at the settings, setting up the options that people can fill in, your legalese, meaning your agreements, linking online, and then we'll go through a quick demo. After that, we'll look at the parent portal, look at how to use the news and announcements, how things are set so you can set it the way you like it, link it in online, and then we'll do a parent portal demo. And then that'll be followed, obviously, by a Q&A. All right, so let's take a quick look at the difference between online web registration and the parent portal. The online web registration form is a way for potential customers to become actual customers of your business online. So this allows them to become a part of your studio without having to actually go through you. They can just do everything online. And the parent portal is a place for your customers to be able to manage their accounts, enroll in classes and events, pay fees, and communicate with your business. All right, so let's move this out the way and get things started. So right here is my database. And we're gonna start off by looking at where you can find help through the Help Center. So I'm going to select the Help button right here. You'll get a pop-up. All right, so right here, you want to select this Help Center button, and this will take you over to the Help Center. All right, so there's a couple ways you can get to the help articles. One is by clicking this button here. This will give you a page with a list of all the different subjects we have, categories we have. And the other way is to use the hamburger menu up here at the left, upper left-hand corner. And then you can go into your help articles. You get a drop down. We're going to look at the online integration and web reg. So this area right here is where we're going to look at for online web registration articles. So I don't want to take a ton of time here because there's a wealth of information. Pretty much anything you want to do or any way you want is to set the web registration form, the information is going to be here. As with any subject, it's always good to start with the overview, just to kind of get an idea of what's possible with this particular feature. And then at the bottom of these, we'll have different related articles so you can move to the next phases of your search. We're going to go ahead and use that hamburger menu again. Collapse this, select the parent portal. Again, with the parent portal, same idea. You have a bunch of groups of articles. So in some cases, it'll be the article itself. And in other cases, it will be a group of articles. Oh, that's not. Let's find a group of articles. Well, you get the idea. So some of these will actually lead to a group of articles and others will lead to articles individually. All right, so let's head back to my database and we'll go over settings. So let's get started with looking at the way your classes need to be set to allow them to be enrollable using the online web registration as well as the parent portal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over classes, select list active classes, and then I'll go into this first class here. All right, so we're going to start off with the registration start date. So this date either needs to be empty or a date from yesterday and before. If this date is anytime in the future, the class will not show up on the web registration form, nor will it show in the parent portal. And the reason for that is we feel that having classes show in these particular features that aren't enrollable may lead to a little bit of frustration or confusion. So we just keep those classes not visible until an actual action can be made for that class. In the bottom left-hand corner of this page, you also see this field for allow web registration. So as long as this is set to yes, they will be able to use the web registration form to enroll in this class, and in this case, via the web registration form. And then the next one is the parent portal. So allow portal enrollment just means that they're allowed to enroll in this class using the parent portal. If this is set to no, they will not be able to see this class at all in your parent portal. So that's how that's set up as far as on an individual level. So let's look at being able to do this on a mass level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over classes, and I'm going to select edit all classes, and I just want to see all my active classes. All right, so this row right here where it starts with the display on website, allow web reg, allow portal. This is as long as you can see all of your classes over one page, you'll be able to affect each and every one of them using this global change row. If you have anything more than 50 classes, you'll have more than one page. So in order for this to work on all of your classes, you would need to make sure that all of your classes are visible on this same page. All right, so what you can also do, let's just say you don't want all of your classes, you just want some of them, but you want to be able to do it a little bit faster. This is the place you'll want to go. So you would just affect, you'll make your changes on an individual level per class. All right, so with that being said, there's one other place that I want to look at before we actually go into any settings, and that is how you set up your customer's ability to enter their credit card information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over tools and select credit cards / bank account settings. All right. So this page, at one time, you were able to make these selections inside of the settings page on the online web registration setup. That's not the case anymore. You're going to want to come to this area to set up whether the credit card is required. So in other words, if it's optional, they can enter it using a web registration form, but it is not mandatory. If you want to make it mandatory, you would set this to yes. If you don't want them to be able to enter it at all, you would click no, hide the field. If you accept bank ACHs, you would set that up here. Or excuse me, you would make it visible or mandatory. Down here at the bottom is for the parent portal. So this is how you allow them to either be able to update their credit card information, or if they can only see it, meaning they can see it, but they can't make any changes, you would select view only. And if you want it hidden where they can't see it at all, you would just leave this hidden. This is particularly useful if you don't allow them to enter their credit card information. You'll want to go ahead and hide that on the parent portal as well. Once that's all good and you have it set the way you like it, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing, allow 3 credit cards. So while this isn't necessarily specific to the parent portal or web registration, just keep in mind that you can allow them to store 3 credit card numbers in their account. If you set this to no, it only allow for 1. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so now let's go ahead and head over to our online web registration form settings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hover over tools, and then I'm going to select online web registration. All right, so the first page you're met with is this one. And this is going to give you the information on your organization ID, so it lets you know what your organization ID is. And that ID is necessary inside of the URL for both the web registration form as well as the parent portal. That way we know where to point things at and whose customers we're working with. All right, the next area we want to look at is your settings. All right, so this is pretty much your master copy of how things are gonna, what you're gonna allow them to be able to do and how things are gonna be set up. All right, so we're gonna start off at the top. So this header text is what they'll see at the very top of your web registration form. So I have it, set to thank you for your interest in Murray Dance Studio. The next area is your class enrollment. So right now I have it set to optional, but you can change it to hidden or required. So what happens here is this. The way I have it set up with optional is it gives them the ability to select classes, but it's not mandatory. The hidden is going to hide the ability to select classes. So one thing to keep in mind with that hidden option is if you have a class listing table on your website and you have this class enrollment set to hidden, if they select a class using your class listing table, when they get brought to the web registration form, that pre-filled class will not show on that web registration form. So if you have a class listing table, having this set to hidden will be very counterproductive for how you want things to work. And then the required option, it is just what it says, it's required. So in order for them to submit this web registration form, they need to select a class. If they don't select a class, they cannot submit this form. The next is going to be class instructions. So this is basically the text that's above the select a class button, which we'll see a little bit later. Your next area is a Google tracking ID. So if you use Google Analytics and you track what people are doing on your website, you can add that tracking ID here. What it'll do is it will simply track the fact that someone has visited this page. It will not track whether they actually enroll in a class. It only shows that they've gone to this page. Next area is what your customers will see after they have submitted the web registration form, after everything has been filled out and they're ready to go enter classes or enrolled. This is what will show. So you have a couple options. You can either have it show this confirmation message, which what happens is it's just a one big page with this message on it, and then the ability to go to your parent portal. If you have a landing page that you would like your new families to go to, instead of this message, you can click this here, and then you can add that URL here, and they'll be taken there instead of to the message. Next area is your email confirmation settings. So basically, this is the email that they get after they have enrolled in a class. So they've registered, and everything is moving forward. So if they've chosen a class, that's part of this email. If you make it so that they don't have to, they'll still get an email once they've completed a form. The ability to show the class date. So if they've enrolled in a class, part of that email, in this case, would show the class dates. So the first time their class is going to meet and when it's going to end. If you like, you can have the instructor's name shown. This notification emails basically is when this has been submitted. This is the email address that will be copied on the fact that you have a new customer. The use location email. So basically, if you have multiple locations and they each have their own email address, if you want the system to use those individual email addresses instead of one default, you can set this to yes. Next section is your registration fee settings. So if you charge a fee up and above and beyond the tuition fee for your brand new customers, so your registration fee, it would be totally separate from the tuition fee. You can have this set to yes. I'll set mine to yes and show you the settings. So go to yes. You can have it set to win. So if you, no matter whether they enrolled in a class or not, you want them to get charged this fee, you would select always. If it's only for when they enroll, so they have to enroll in class, and then when they do that, then they get this extra fee tacked on, then you would select this option. Right here is your post fee. So how are you going to do this? Are you going to do this per student or per family, or per student per class? So in other words, if they have 3 kids, but you only want one fee to be posted to the family, you're going to pick that per family. If you want to look at it per student, so for each student that that registers and enrolls, they get charged for each one. Or if you want it for every single class that they enroll in, so if they enroll in 3 classes and you want them to get charged 3 times for 3 different registration fees, you would select the last one. Right here, if this was family, it would you'd have one option, and in the case of the per student, you can add the first, second, and third, and then if there's a 4th student, it would charge the same amount as you're charging for a 3rd student. And if you like, you can enter a family max. So let's just say it's 25 for the first, 20 for the second, and 10 for the third. If you want to limit the amount that can be posted to this family for registration, you can enter that here. Let's just say you put like $100 there. So in case they had like 5 students, they wouldn't keep getting charged, $10 over and over again. Here, you'll need to make sure you set a transaction type. I have a few to choose from. I choose to use a registration as my transaction type. Down here, category 1, you will have to have a category 1. It's basically pulling from the category 1s you have created in your drop-down lists. I have my set to registration fee, so it makes sense to me. All right, this next area down here is a very new area to us. This release just came out, I want to say today or yesterday, and it gives you the ability to either hide or show a couple of fields in your web registration form. So when a family clicks on the select a class button and they're taken to pick classes, if you have the instructor name, openings, or start and end dates unchecked, it will hide those so they won't be visible. If they're checked, they'll be visible. We're going to leave these all checked for now, just so you can see what they look like, and maybe we'll take a look at what they look like when they're unchecked. All right, next area is your class search settings. So we'll start off with this. If you allow students to enroll in a wait list when the class is full, you'll set it to yes. If not, you'll set it to no. What impacts the number of class openings? So let's just say you have a class that has one opening. Will you allow the wait list to affect the amount of openings? So in some cases, you may have 2 kids in a wait list, but and 2 actual openings. If you set this to no, your openings will still show you have 2. If you set this to yes, then those wait lists will affect the number of openings in the class. And the first one is referring to just specifically the online web registration. The second one is for quick reg, which basically is what your administrators or your front desk people will be using. So quick registration happens by your staff and not through the parent portal or the web registration form. Another thing that can impact your class opening numbers is makeups. For a dance studio, sometimes this isn't as big of a deal, but if you have a swimming organization, makeups can make a huge deal. If you have one opening and you have a child coming in to do a makeup for one day, you don't want to overbook those classes. So anytime you want to make sure that makeups don't put you in an overbooking situation for the class, you can set this to yes. They will impact the number of openings in the class. And again, with the quick registration, that again is an administrator situation. These future drops and future enrolls, those are controlled in a different area than here. You can control how it affects the quick registration from here as well. All right, so your class filters. So when you apply the gender filter or the age filter, you set that to yes. It will look at the class, the way the class is set up. So in the case of a class that's you set as being a female class, if you have your applied gender filter set to yes, and a male tries to enroll in this class, they won't be able to. As a matter of fact, they won't even be able to see the class in the web registration form for that child. And again, with the age filter, if you set that to yes, it will use whatever age parameters you've created inside of your class settings or your class summary page. It will enforce those in the web registration form. There's category 1 labels, the category 1, 2, and 3 labels. These give you the ability to change the label, the way the label is displayed in the selected class portion of the web registration form, and also inside of the parent portal. So if you, by default, it says category 1 or 2 or 3. If you want those names to change, you can change those by adding them right in here. Show register links. So that is refers to your website class listing tables. So if you have this set to no, they'll never actually be able to enroll or register for a class using the class listing table. Show full classes. If you have it set to yes, it will show the full classes. If you have them allowed, if they're able to get on a wait list, then the wait list link will show. If they run out of wait list spots, then nothing will show in that register column. And then in the bottom, require to contact one to have an email. Highly suggest you require that so that it's easier for you to communicate with them. And then email constant confirmation checkbox. And then if you wanted to send a copy to you every time someone uses the web registration form, you can set that to yes. Otherwise, leave it at no, and you will not get an email every time someone uses the web registration form. once everything here is set the way you like it, you'll need to make sure you click on the Save Changes. I want to personally turn off my registration fee settings, and then you save your changes. All right, so the next area you want to look at is your field options and labels. All right, so these are basically the different fields that show on the web registration form. So we start off with your referral information. So how did you hear about us? You can have that set to optional, hidden, or required. To edit those, you would go into where you would edit your drop-down lists, and you would just go into referral. I'm going to go there really quick just so you can take a quick look at it, and then we're going to come right back here. So I would go hover over Tools, select Edit Settings. I would go into my drop-down list from the left, and then for the referrals, the source would be here. And then if you added something, you would obviously go ahead and save it. So I'm going to go backwards to where we were a second ago. Referral name, you can set that to optional or required or hidden. Or I'm sorry, you can set that to hidden or optional. If that's set to optional, if this is set to required, then again, you can select hidden or optional. I'll leave that optional. All right, so now we look at the family information. These are the places where it's going to go in the family's account, and here is what the label is going to look like. So if you would like to make some changes in the way that it's being worded on the registration form, you would do that here. Some areas you cannot make that change, like in the address and city. You cannot change those labels. And then you can also have these set to hidden, optional, required. Emergency contact, again, you can change your labels. You can make them hidden, required, or optional as well. All right, family user defined field. So this is where we're looking at the customer on the family level. So we can have some defined fields. We can ask them a couple of questions. You can have those questions hidden, optional, required, just like some of the other options you have. And as you can see, I have none here. If I wanted to add some or make some changes, I would go right here to this user defined fields link. And then I can add my family user defined fields, and I can also add student user defined fields, so I can either change them or remove them or add them. Keep in mind, there is a character limit, and off the top of my head, I'm not sure what that limit is, but as you're typing, it will stop at that limit, and you won't be able to go over that. All right, so as we head down, now we look at the contacts. So in a situation with family, you would think of family members or any extended family, anyone that's considered a contact, whether they be a parent or a grandparent. All right, so we have things set up for contact 1 and contact 2. Within the parent portal, they can add additional if they would like. The first contact, they're going to have to give us a contact name. After that, like type, meaning mother, father, grandmother, so on and so forth, can be hidden or optional. All these other things can be optional, hidden, or required. Contact 2, so for a two-parent family, they're able to add this. And again, this contact 2, it can actually be optional, required, or hidden. And as we get down to the student information, so this is everything we're asking of these students. So right here, again, this is the areas of their account. You'll be able to see these, the values they enter, that's what they'll show up at. Again, I have the ability to make something optional, hidden, or required, and the option to change what the label looks like. And then down here with the student users defined fields, I have the ability to change whether they're hidden, optional, or required. Once everything looks the way I like it, save and changes. All right, so let's head over to the legalese. So this is basically your agreements. This is all your legal stuff. So I've put in 3 different agreements. Here is, I put in a little link just to kind of show how that works, and your ability to use this. It's very seldomly used this way, but I just wanted to show because I had someone ask not too long ago if this was possible, and I showed them it's possible, so I'm sure someone else would like to know that. It will order in the way you set it up here. So if I wanted to change my order, I would go ahead and add the numbers here for how I would like it to be ordered. All right, so now let's look at linking your your web registration form to either your website or sending it to in an email, just the URL, because the way you get to the web registration form is through a URL. So it's only a web link. There's no way to embed this into a website. It can only be gone to, for lack of better words. So the easiest way to find that link is to click on this preview registration form, and you can do this on any of these pages. It'll show right here at the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on that. And right here, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. Right here at the top, that's the URL link that will take me to this web registration form. All right, so a perfect example of how this could be used is I'm going to go to my test website. I could put it somewhere like this, register now, and it takes me here. All right, so let's look at this web registration form and how things are set currently, and then we'll look at what it looks like to enroll in a class. So as you can see, the thank you for your interest in Murray Dance Studios up here, and then the other area of text that we set up there is right here. Please select on the search button below. So that's that text that we had in the second area of the web registration form settings. So let's go ahead and create a new family. I'm gonna use their last name is gonna be Johnson. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, test road. I'm outside of Tampa. All right, I do. So as you can see, there's little asterisks or stars. These are mandatory fields. You can't really move forward without getting those taken care of. And we're gonna call this guy David. And we need an email address for this person. So we're gonna say David at David. And then we need to make sure that it's still the same. And I'm gonna give myself a password. This gets me into the parent portal. All right, so I'm gonna leave the second contact blank.
And Ed, I want to jump in really quick while you're still typing.
Yes,
and
please.
If you guys do not have your parent portal turned on or activated, the password and login he just created on this form, those fields won't be there. It actually took me a couple times before I realized that.
Well, thank you for that. That's why we have 2 people on these webinars.
Didn't mean to jump in, but legit, I think I had a support ticket on it when this first debuted, and they kept saying it's not there, it's not there. Well, they hadn't activated their parent portal yet. So, and that gives you the ability to use one without the other.
Oh, thank you so much for that. All right, so you heard it from the maestro right there. All right, so now additional information. What's your favorite dancer? Who's your favorite dancer? Excuse me. That was found right down here. Who's your favorite dancer? All right, so that's that first user-defined field for the student, or I should say student-defined field. All right, now let's go ahead and select the class. I'm going to go right here. And so you see where it says category 1 right there, 2 and 3. So these are the areas where when I was saying you could change those labels, you can change them. So, and then this can be taken away. The instructor can be taken away, and then your openings can be taken away. All right. So if you don't want any of those showing, those can be taken away by simply unchecking those boxes. I'm going to have this student take Horton 1. If I wanted to at this point, I could add another student and select another class. And then I cannot move forward without agreeing to these. Now, if I click this, it takes me right here. And we'll select these other ones, and they'll need to add that in there. If they want to add some other question concerns, they can put that in here. It would show up. It would show up when you go to look at their account, when you see them coming as a new registration, which is, I'll show you that in your dashboard. And I have this set to required. No, I don't have it set to required, so we won't worry about that. And then submit the registration. And this is what I have set up for what they see. If I were to use the URL, this is what another possibility for this could be, is to have this show instead. Because if I were to put this URL in that area, they were looking at a moment ago, this is what would show, or any other landing page that you like would be what shows. All right, so pretty much in a nutshell, that is the online web registration form. Let's go back and take a look at the parent portal. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to hover over tools, and then we're going to select parent portal. All right, so initially you come to this page, and it's just a getting started procedure. It just gives you a couple of little bit of information here. But right here is your news and announcements. So this is where you would add anything you want to pop up when a parent has logged into their parent portal. So I just gonna put here, says this is what an alert looks like. So when we go to the parent portal, you'll see this pop up. Let's go over to settings. So this sets up what can happen in the parent portal. If you have this unchecked, the portal will not work. And I believe this is so that has to be checked. Otherwise, they can't get into the portal at all. These areas checked here. So if you want them to be able to deal with transactions, that needs to be checked. If you want them to see their students, that needs to be checked. The classes and ability to enroll in classes, and then your event registration. So if you want them to be able to enroll or register for events through the parent portal, that would need to be checked. All right, so right here, your login page message. Let's put something there so that when we go over to the parent portal, something will pop up and you can see what it looks like on their end. Now, just as a side note, I recommend everyone create a test family that they can use a parent portal with, because I'm a huge believer in being able to see what your customers see and experience what your customers experience when they interact with your business. So this is one of those things where I highly recommend having a test family, and then having the ability to get into the parent portal, so you are understanding their experience. So I'm gonna call this the pop-up window. The pop-up window. Put a couple of exclamation points on there. All right, so right here, this checkbox here. Okay, so on the login page, there's a link that will allow your parents to watch a video that explains how to use the parent portal. If you do not want them to be able to link to that video, you'll want to be sure to uncheck this. If you want them to be able to link to that video, keep it checked. Right here, this message right here is the verbiage that's right above that link. And so just kind of take a gander at that really quick. And when we get to the login page, I'll point out where these things are being shown at. All right, so now we look at the family information. So this is the policies agreement. All right, so this could be blank and it would be no problem, okay? So what this is this is a way to allow you to tell your customers that there are new policies and they need to agree to them again. So if I enter a date of today or sometime in the past and they haven't agreed to the legalese since before that date, they'll need to re-agree. If I put this at a date in the future, they will have to agree every single time they log into the parent portal until that date has been reached. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And a lot of organizations will change this date yearly because they would like their parents to re-agree to their legalese yearly. You know, that's something you can do if you like. I do see it happen a lot, and you don't have to change anything to do that. But if you do change something in your legalese, you'll want to go ahead and add a new date here so that way your parents will agree to the new stuff. All right, the next area is what can be done by the parent in terms of their information as a family. So I have checked, they can update their student information. So that means they can, if something changes with their student, they can go ahead and update that information. I have the add students checked, which allows them to add additional students as they, either grow in size or kids come of age or whatever the case is with these families. You can allow them to update their email schedule, or email payment schedule. So that's that area in the billing info tab that refers to their e-payment schedule. You can allow them to update their membership type. So pretty much everything there is pretty much self-explanatory. You can allow them to see attendance issues. And now a really cool thing about fields like this, we're not totally sure what's meant by that. If there's a little blue question mark, you can click on that and then you'll get a little help pop up to kind of give you a little bit more explanation as to what that thing is. Down here are going to be those family user-defined fields. I can make some changes here as long as there's a field there. As long as there's a question there, I can go in here and decide whether updating is required. You can only see it or if it's hidden. Just as another side note, if it's required here, they'll only get a little number alert saying that there's something they need to do. And when they click on it, they can go and see what that is, but it doesn't stop them from any actions inside of the parent portal. All right, down here is their fees and payments. So if you allow them to make payments in the parent portal, and you have an agreement with one of our credit card partners, you can allow them to make payments. So in other words, you need to have an agreement with our payment partners, and they would need a credit card on file for them to make credit card payments using the parent portal. So if all of those boxes are checked, you can check this box. All right, so now you can look at, now in this area, you can make decisions as to how they can pay those bills. So is it only paying full balance? So if they have a full balance, if they have a balance, in order for them to pay anything, they have to pay everything. That's an option. You can allow them to pick which fees that they want to pay in full. So basically they would need to, if they wanted to pay on a tuition fee, if they have 3 tuition fees due or with that don't have payments associated with them, they can select which one to pay in full, not partial, but in full. The next one, they can select which fees to pay in full or partial. So let's just say you have a tuition fee for $50. This parent has 20 that they can put on that amount today, and they want to. They're able to select which fee is having that $20 applied to it. And the last one is change payment amount and is applied to oldest fees. So basically, they can put however much they want in the amount that they're paying, but they can't choose which fee that that payment is going towards. The system will look at the oldest fee and put it there. So that's kind of how that works. Next one, you just send payment alert. So what that is if this is checked, anytime a parent or anyone uses the parent portal to make a payment, the person, this email address will get, in this case, there's more than one, will receive an email alerting you that a payment has been made through the parent portal. This right here, this shows transaction subtype. This is for your parents to be able to see different levels of information inside of the transaction line. Right? And we'll look at that when we explore the parent portal on our demo in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and check this show discounts because I want you to be able to see that. And we're going to check the show session. Excuse me. All right, my classes. So this is showing you, this is the information that's shown in the classes when they're looking at their students' schedule, so to speak. All right, you can have it show the instructor's nickname. You can have it show start date and any drop date and any of this information. Bottom part, class enrollment settings. So this is where they can enroll students. So one option is to add students. This one is to actually allow them to enroll students. So this is unchecked. They will not be able to enroll students into classes using the parent portal. You can hide the instructor filter. So what this is a drop inside of the parent portal. There's the ability to filter using different categories you choose, and one of them is instructor. So if I don't want them to be able to use the instructor as a filtering agent, I would check that here for the allow enrollment at any location. All right, so let's say you have 2 locations and you want to make sure that your parents can only enroll in one of those locations. If you have this unchecked, it will allow your parents to enroll their students in classes for the location that's their home location. So what that means is this: when a family enrolls in classes at the beginning, they have the location of that class as a default location in their account. All right, so if you only want them to be able to enroll in classes for that particular location, you need to make sure that this allow at any location is unchecked. If you want them to be able to enroll at any class at any location for your organization, you want to make sure that that is checked. The next one is prevent inactive families from enrolling. Okay, so if you have this checked, let's just say a family has become inactive, and a family becomes inactive by not having any kids or students enrolled in classes. So if there's a family with 2 students and none of them are enrolled in classes, that family will be inactive. If you want them to have to come through you to become active again and enroll in new classes, you will want to check this box. If you want those returning families that are inactive due to not being enrolled in classes, if you want them to just be able to go ahead and go into the parent portal and enroll in classes, you'll make sure that this is unchecked. The next one is prevent problem families from enrolling. If you check that and you have marked a family as a problem family, what will happen is when they try to enroll in a class, they'll get this really nice message stating they need to contact the studio administration for assistance. It does not tell them that they're a problem family. It just lets them know that they can't use the parent portal to enroll in a class, and they would absolutely love for you to go ahead and talk to someone at the facility for further assistance. A lot of times this is used for families that have a large balance, that you don't want them to accumulate any extra balance, or if there's another issue that has to be addressed with that student. Next one is require policy agreement for each enrollment. All right, this is checked. Every single time your families go and enroll in a class, they'll have to agree to your policies. This is something that's usually used very specifically for a very specific reason. Otherwise, it can be a little bit taxing because you have to do it every time instead of just once according to the policies date that you set up top. And required credit card. on file before enrollment. You know, again, that's something that some people choose to have, especially if they want to make sure that the families have credit cards so that they can go ahead and charge them. Otherwise, this stays unchecked. And then here are some filters that you can hide. So you can hide your category 1 to 3 filters. You can hide a day filter. I don't want to hide that. You can hide any of these things. And this is for show. And this is obviously to show the class start date. You can have that checked to show and then show instructor nickname. All right, so this area right here, the class enrollment openings. So if you want your parents to be able to see how many openings are left open in the class inside the parent portal, you want to keep that to show. If you want to hide that, you would click this hide openings column. Once everything is the way you like it, save your changes. All right, so linking this is pretty much the same as linking your online web registration form. It is a URL link. It cannot be embedded into your website. And the fastest way to get that URL link is to go right up here in this upper left-hand corner and click on the Go to Parent Portal. The pop-up window has shown itself right there. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at inside the Parent Portal. So the family's user ID is going to default to that contact's email. So each email, if there's one contact, that contact uses their email address as your user ID. If there's two, each one of them, contact 1 uses theirs, contact 2 uses theirs. So you don't have to have just one for the full family. Let's go ahead and enter what we just did. And then we're going to put sign it. Let me go back and take a look at what this family's. All right, so let's take a look somewhere else while I show you where things come in. Okay, so when a new family enrolls in a class using web registration, they'll be right here. Portal enrollments will be right here. I'm going to go here because I want to find this family and I want to pull his email address. Because I apparently forgot it. All right, let's go ahead and change that. When we do this, this family receives an email with this information. All right, so here's that announcement. So what we just created, I'm going to view this announcement. And you see, this is what the alert looks like when a family logs in after this announcement. Okay, got it. All right, so this student, we're going to go into find classes. And if I wanted to enroll in a class here, click there, add to cart, and I'd be able to select the student's name. And then I would add this. And then either I can continue and look for more additional classes. Or check out. And then I can accept the enrollment and continue. And now they're enrolled. And there's that student. All right, there's one other place I'd like to show you guys, and that is sending a message to a family directly using the um, database. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into his family's account. And then I'm going to go over here to the miscellaneous. And then if I wanted to add a portal message at the time of login for that family, I can add it right here. I'm just going to write test really quick, and we'll save that. Come back here, sign out. And now if I come here and I go to my messages, there's my email messages, and that message hasn't come through yet. All right. So with that being said, I want to take a moment to go ahead and open the floor for any questions that have come in.
Okay, so everyone, if you have questions, go ahead and find your question and answer interface and let us know. And Ed, if you don't mind, while we're giving them a moment or two to do that, can you go back to your parent portal where you were logged in? I want to show you guys one other thing that is my absolute favorite, and Ed kind of mentioned it, but I'm going to be a little bit redundant and just say of all the things I hear in my classroom trainings, because I do a lot of those, this is probably the one that people either forget or they're most surprised about. So I repeat it a lot. When you're in the parent portal, those parents that come to you and say that they didn't get emails, don't forget to remind them, as long as it doesn't show up on your bounce history report, where it is in the messages, those messages are there for 6 months. So even if it got filtered and went into their junk folder or into, just got filtered out, maybe they work for a school and the school blocks it, but doesn't send a block report, they can always come back in and read those email addresses. So they don't, even if it goes to their junk mail folder in their inbox, they can come back here and all they have to do is click on one of those messages to actually see the content. We like reminding people that a lot because it seems to, we get so busy both as Jackrabbit staff and other, as your clients and your families. It's a great thing just to remind them there. You don't have to do it for them. They can go do it. Okay, so
another thing too. I'm sorry to interject.
You're good.
Here's one I do get a lot as well, and I'm surprised I overlooked it. All right, so we're gonna go to billing and payments, and right here you can see the different transactions. So we've only done one transaction, and if they click on it, you get a pop up, and it shows information about that transaction. So I know a lot of times what we'll have is people will say, well, there's no kind of information on that transaction. They have no idea what it is. So if you click on it, it will show you what that is. That's how it expands. And this was done for mobile responsiveness.
Thank you for explaining that, Ed. That is also a question we see come in support a lot, and we'll hear in the classroom trainings as well. Okay, so one of our questions, we have guidelines upon getting on the parent portal. If they don't click to agree on something, will it let them go on or will they have to click it? That is a great question.
Right. Okay. So they do have to agree to your agreements in order to move forward. So they may be able to get into the parent portal. So like if you use a quick registration form to enroll them, they haven't agreed to your legalese yet. So their first time going on to the parent portal, it will require them to agree to those agreements. And if you change your agreements and you've changed that date that we spoke about a few minutes ago, then again, they will be required to agree to those agreements, and they can't move forward until they've done so.
Great. All right, another question. Example, we have to agree or not agree for media release. If they do not want them on social media, should we use add to say yes or no?
Okay, so here's the situation. With legalese, it's a you have to agree or she can't move forward. So when it comes to like media release forms and things of that nature, um, it's kind of hard for me to advise you on that because of whatever legal situations you may have present. But you could add that as a yes or no to like your user defined field or your student user defined field. What do you think, Tammy? I know you probably have had a little bit of you know
Yeah,
exposure.
that is one that I see a lot, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. The way most people write that into their legalese, it's either a yes or a no. So it's written with the assumption that it will be a yes because it's required. And those schools that want to give people the opt out can include an extra sentence like, if anyone not agreeing to must submit a written request, just something in there so that they've got the ability to opt out, but they're agreeing to the fact that there is a media release. I can tell you, my daughter attended one school that used Jackrabbit, and it was an all or nothing. You had to agree to the media release. If you opted out, it was a write-in. You had to submit something in writing, and then that limited the classes that you could take because they were heavy on social media marketing. So if you opted out through a written request, then you actually would not participate in the spring recital because then no classes could have their pictures taken. So it really, that's one Ed mentioned seeking or talking with your legal counsel, but you would write it from the perspective that yes, you agree, and then put in a clause in there on what the stipulation was to opt out. And I'll tell you, more and more places are going to the you sign it or else. My daughter danced for many, many years, and when she was with Houston Ballet, it was a sign it or they give her summer spot to someone else. So just keep that in mind. Do some research on the internet and see what's out there.
Yeah, especially with recitals because we
Yes.
kind of think about it. If you're filming the piece, that's a whole bunch of pictures moving.
Right. Okay, one more question. Can we collect credit card info through the parent portal for manual inputting if we are not connected through a Jackrabbit partner?
All right. So no, you cannot. The way the laws work now is you cannot just have your credit card sitting there out there for it to be viewed by people. So with our credit card partners, what they do is they vault those for us. So I will never ever be able to see your whole credit card information, just the last four digits of that credit card. So no, you are not able to use this for an external manual entry of a credit card number.
Yeah, and that has to do with PCI compliance. Legally, we're not allowed to. So, and you're gonna should find that the same with any software that is PCI compliant.
And if it's not, you
Okay,
got a problem, to be honest with you.
that's right. Okay, so I'm not seeing any other questions. I want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. If you think of something, okay, hang on just a second. I'm seeing one more thing. Okay, so the person that just chatted in, on the credit card info, saying that one of your chat hosts may have misdirected you. If you want to contact us, you can send in a support ticket and just put in there that you were on the webinar and had a question about that. We can follow up with that and get it to one of our managers. We're happy to do that. And then just thank all of you today for joining us, and thanks for your patience as we ran just a little bit over, but we wanted to make sure we have so much great content. We wanted to make sure we covered it all in detail and answered your questions. If you still have follow-up questions after, don't hesitate to use the question mark in your database and contact support, and then be on the lookout tomorrow afternoon for a recording of today's webinar if you need additional follow-up. Thank you all so much, and thank you, Ed.
Yeah, thank
And
you, everyone. It was a pleasure having everyone here, and I'm glad you guys are taking the time to take your business seriously and get to know this information. It's awesome.
fantastic. And everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.